the thirsty reason your kidneys hoard every last drop of salt before your brain even registers dehydration. And in Death Valley, in 2023, that same starving instinct built a phantom lake that swallowed an entire mountain range's reflection overnight. Your body has done this to survive. The valley does it on a scale that erases mountains. And the reason is inside you right now. Death Valley sits 282 feet below sea level, the lowest ground in North America. Look up from the Salt Flats and the Panamint Range towers 11,000 feet above you, 2 vertical miles of solid rock, closer than it has any right to be. That gap isn't erosion. It's a wound. The ground beneath you is falling, roughly a millimeter every year, while the mountains beside you keep rising at almost the same rate. You're standing in the fastest sinking, driest, hottest place in North America. It once hit 134 degrees here, and this basin has been quietly swallowing everything around it for 5 million years. What's falling in isn't just rock. Here's the part almost nobody explains right. Death Valley isn't carved by a river, patiently cutting downward over eons. It's a graben, a slab of crust that cracked and dropped between two parallel faults, like a trapdoor swinging open under the desert floor. As the basin drops, the mountains on either side get pulled upward by the same stretching forces tearing the crust apart, part of the vast basin and range system stretching across Nevada and Utah. Every year the gap widens a little more. Every year gravity drags the mountains down into that widening gap, rock slides, flash floods hauling boulders the size of cars, centuries of grit and gravel pouring off the Panamints and the Black Mountains in giant fan-shaped aprons, straight into the sinking basin below. Geologists have measured over 9,000 feet of sediment stacked beneath the valley floor, layer after layer, deposit after deposit. That's not dirt. That's mountain, an entire range's worth of itself, ground down, buried, swallowed, erased. And it's still happening under your boots right now, this exact second, too slow for your eyes but too certain to stop. But burying mountains isn't even the strangest part. This driest, lowest, hottest place in North America used to be full of water. During the last ice age, Lake Manly filled this valley to a depth of 600 feet, deep enough to drown Furnace Creek 50 times over. Then the climate flipped, the water vanished, and Death Valley became the void we call it today. Except it never fully left. It's still down there under the salt crust in a water table that never dried completely. And every so often, without warning, the lake comes back. In August 2023, Hurricane Hillary dumped more than 2 inches of rain onto Death Valley in a single day, a full year's rainfall falling in one afternoon. Water that should have vanished into cracked earth pooled, instead across the lowest basin on the continent. Within days, a shallow lake stretched for miles across Badwater Basin, mirroring the Panamint Range so perfectly that tourists kayaked across a phantom sea that textbooks said couldn't exist. Park rangers had never seen anything like it. It lasted for months. Remember the salt your kidneys hoard the instant your body senses drought coming. The valley floor does the same thing backwards, on a geologic clock hoarding water underground for decades, releasing almost none of it, then flooding everything at once when the sky finally breaks. A few miles north at Racetrack Playa, that same rare water solves one of the valley's oldest mysteries. Rocks weighing up to 700 pounds that drag themselves across the dried lake bed, leaving tracks hundreds of feet long, with no one ever seeing them move. Scientists finally caught it on camera, a thin sheet of meltwater freezing overnight into a fragile ice skin, then breaking apart under wind, sliding stones across mud slicker than any hand could push. The lake doesn't just fill the valley. It moves what's already buried, rewriting the ground while no one's watching. None of this is finished. The Panamints keep climbing. The valley floor keeps dropping. Somewhere beneath your feet, another 9,000 feet of future mountain waits to be delivered, boulder by boulder, flood by flood, into a basin that has never once said enough. And the water table that resurrects Lake Manly every few decades is being drained faster than desert rain can refill it, pulled by wells and cities hundreds of miles away that most people never connect to this place. Your kidneys hoard salt to keep you alive during drought, but hoard too well for too long, and that same reflex turns into stones lodged in soft tissue. Death Valley is running the identical program, on a scale of millennia instead of hours. So the question isn't whether Lake Manly comes back. It already has, 3 times in the last 20 years, each flood arriving with less warning than the last. The real question is what happens the day the valley floor drops far enough and the water table rises high enough that the lake stops leaving. Somewhere under the salt right now, the next flood is already hoarding itself, waiting for its moment. No one currently knows how close that moment is.